What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I thought I'd do another little discussion video for you guys about something that I've felt pretty strongly about ever since maybe around the time of Capital Supremacy dropping, which is that I think Battlefront 2 needs a little bit of spring cleaning. For a pretty long time now, I've been really wanting DICE to give us a whole month or hell even 2 months just dedicated to bug fixing, balancing and some quality of life changes, as I really think that right now that is a far more important aspect than giving us more and more content. Now, don't get me wrong, I want more content as much as the next guy, especially when it comes to more maps and weapons, as I think those are the two types of content that this game really desperately needs. But aside from that, I'm honestly pretty happy with the amount of content we have as of right now, at least enough to last me maybe 2 or 3 months without getting any. Instead of more content, I'd really love to see them just completely flatten out all the issues with this game at the moment, as we all know that there's still plenty of stuff wrong with this game in terms of bugs and balancing, and in my opinion, a really well balanced and smooth game is always better than a game that has continuously new content but also has a heap of issues. For some reason with this game and this community, there's always been such a massive emphasis on wanting more and more content, and like I said, I definitely want more content as well, but it seems that people have been screaming out way more for content than they have been for bug fixes and balancing, as I only really see a small minority of people that prioritise that over more content. I think 12 months ago, when we didn't have all the Clone Wars stuff yet, it was definitely more of a priority that we needed content, as even though the game was in a much worse state back then, we went about 8 or 9 months without pretty much any content, and so I can completely understand why that would have been DICE's main focus back in May or June of 2018. But honestly now, after getting our 4 heroes, Geonosis, a new large-scale game mode with some very slightly different maps, ARC Troopers, BX Commando droids, Droidicas, TX-130s, not to mention an abundance of Clone Trooper skins and some skins for heroes as well, I think that's a pretty hefty amount of content that we received in pretty much 6 or 7 months, and again, I'm far from done when it comes to wanting more content, but I feel like right now the focus of the game needs to change at least for a month or 2 to try and iron out some of these issues. Take a look at it from this perspective. Back when Geonosis launched, there were a heap of people who absolutely loved it, and a heap of people who really didn't like it, and then probably a lot who were right in the middle of that as well. For me personally, I loved it when it first released, but right now it's arguably my least favourite map, as it can be just so tedious and frustrating to play on. And so even though Geonosis for GA was arguably one of the most requested pieces of content since launch, right now, at least for me and a lot of other people, it is just not that special. Now, look back to some of the serious bugs that this game has had, such as the explosive shot glitch or the ping site glitch that wouldn't allow people to find games. Those bugs getting fixed made the game drastically better, and still to this day we should be very happy with those fixes, because just imagine if all this time the explosive shot glitch was still a thing. I guarantee this game would be dead and buried. Could I live without Geonosis and the heroes that were added? It would suck not to have them, but sure, it's not a game breaker for me if those things weren't added to the game. Now, could I live without the explosive shot glitch being fixed? Absolutely not. If that glitch was still in the game, like I said, this game would probably not be played anymore. And on top of that, we would have never received the new content anyway, as the player base would be completely non-existent. If we do want more content heading into next year, the game has to be doing well enough for EA and DICE to go ahead with it, but if the game stays full of bugs and imbalances, then there's a good chance people might just get sick of it and move on, and if that is the case, then say goodbye to new weapons and maps in 2020. Now, obviously right now there aren't any serious game-breaking bugs like the explosive shot or the ping site glitch, and there's nothing super overpowered like Palpatine or Anakin were in the past. But there are still plenty of things that really need fixing in order to keep the player base happy, because no matter how much content we get, if things don't work as they should, then why bother playing it? For me right now, the only real issues I have are just the smaller stuff, things that aren't really game breaking but just annoying enough to ruin your match, and most of the time warrant turning the game off and just going on with your day. A lot of abilities such as force abilities like force pushes from Luke and Yoda, or Vader's choke still getting stuck. Little things like these really do need to be fixed, because like I said, they aren't really game breaking, but they're definitely enough to piss you off when it does happen to you. Things like some of the map terrains that cause you to get stuck or make you unable to simply walk up a hill because it's apparently too steep, for example. Those kinds of things are also the stuff that I'm talking about, where it just seems like almost every single game you play, there's always one little thing that's going to go wrong and put your character in a lot of trouble. Even in this latest update, people have still been telling me that the ATST's rocket still locks onto heroes and deals over 400 damage, things like the speeder bikes being able to essentially one-hit kill heroes with one burst of their laser barrage. All of those kinds of things that are honestly more to do with balancing than bugs, they really do need to get looked at as well. I mentioned Geonosis earlier on, and part of the reason I can't stand that map anymore is just because of how unbalanced it is towards the clones. Once you're into that second and third phase, you get 3 ATTEs and 2 TX-130s going against 2 AATs on the droid side, and pretty much it's going to be impossible to win. I have done streams with massive squads before where we all played the objective and managed to win as the droids, but honestly outside of a stream I don't think I've ever actually won as the Separatists on Geonosis other than probably right when the map launched. There are also characters like Anakin, Vader and Yoda that are all slightly overpowered, and then characters like Chewie, Finn and Phasma that all need a really small buff to get where they should be. All of these things on their own really aren't super troubling, but when you have a list of stuff like I just mentioned, plus plenty more stuff that I didn't mention, that's really not a good thing for the longevity of the game, and like I said, if the game dies off, we aren't going to get much more content anyway. Now, with all of that being said, the game is probably in its best state it's ever been, and so I don't want anyone thinking I'm having a whinge like some of the other channels out there that I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. I absolutely love this game, and I think it's probably as enjoyable as it's ever been, but some of these small things are just holding it back from what honestly could be a top tier multiplayer shooter. Just imagine how much more enjoyable it would be if you could get Luke and not have to worry about his force push not working, or if you could get Grievous and actually land all of those thrust surge attempts rather than standing there like an idiot waiting for your abilities to actually work. Imagine if you could play a game of HVV and not have to worry about your block randomly stopping and ending in a death, or if you could run around as a stormtrooper and not get rubber banded by enemy lightsabers. Like I said, these things are all in a much better state than they've probably ever been before, but they still aren't 100%, and to many of us that really can be super frustrating and essentially just makes the game a much less enjoyable experience. If DICE were to just put the content on the back burner for a month or two, not completely stopping its creation, but just making it less of a priority, and instead focus on really getting the game into a good state, I honestly think that would be far better for the game than any type of content out there, and then when we do eventually get more content, it's only going to be more enjoyable to play anyway. We don't want to get Felucia later on in the year and then find ourselves still getting stuck on the terrain and dying in stupid ways because abilities don't work and stuff like that. That instantly makes Felucia less appealing to me and probably many of you guys as well. But if the game is in an awesome state when Felucia arrives, then it'll be far more enjoyable and most likely keep the player base wanting to play the game, which at the end of the day may result in more content down the line. So anyway guys, that is going to do it for this one. I know that was a little bit of a rant and I just want to reiterate that I'm not just having a whinge for the sake of it. All of this comes from a place of me just really enjoying this game and wanting to see it succeed. And after the huge turnaround it's had, I really do think that it's possible to keep this game going into 2020. And in my opinion, this would be their best way to go about it. If you guys do agree or disagree, then let me know down in the comments section. I'm pretty interested to hear how you guys feel about the bug fixes compared to content, so don't hesitate to leave your thoughts down below. If you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 videos or live streams. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day and I'll catch you all in the next one.
I will never join the dark side. I'm a Jedi.